The audio recording between President Trump and Georgia's Secretary of State that we told you about earlier this hour is certainly sparking backlash on Capitol Hill. It comes as some Republicans there are gearing up to fight the Electoral College results later on this week. Nancy Cordes has more.
This is so obviously beyond the pale is probably not even the way to describe it.
Republican Adam Kinzinger joined legions of Democrats Sunday condemning the president's call to Georgia's Secretary of State.
It's fundamentally an effort to overthrow the government of the United States.
The controversy did not appear to deter the dozen Senate Republicans and many more in the House who plan to contest the Electoral College results in a joint session of Congress on Wednesday.
And we've seen in the last 2 months unprecedented allegations of voter fraud.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz is now leading the push for an emergency 10-day audit of election returns from 6 states, citing public mistrust in the results. But it's mistrust senators themselves have stoked with baseless claims of fraud.
There is voter fraud. There always is. We had one witness talk about 42,000 people voting twice in Nevada. The other issue
just
really
because
is
you
the
have
fact
somebody
that the courts,
say it didn't make it true.
Easy.
On Sunday, as members of Congress were sworn in, some Republicans tried in vain to talk their colleagues out of the plan. Nebraska's Ben Sass.
This is bad for the country and bad for the party.
Maine's Susan Collins.
It's time for us to move on.
Wyoming's Liz Cheney, the third-ranking House Republican, argued the move would set an exceptionally dangerous precedent.
They have us properly distanced.
But Vice President Mike Pence blessed the effort Sunday. He will preside over Wednesday's joint session, which could last all day.
We're going to spend a lot of quality time together on Wednesday.
I'll be there. I'll be there, sir.
Okay, we'll get through it.
All right, let's dig in a little deeper and bring in Nancy Cordes standing by for us. So, Nancy, a Biden transition team spokesperson released a statement saying that these efforts that you outlined in your story there will not stop the president-elect from being sworn in on January 20th. We know that the senators probably don't have the support that they would need from their fellow lawmakers in order to be successful when it comes to overturning the election results. There have been all sorts of legal challenges that have been thrown out. So why are Republicans continuing to push these voter fraud claims when we know the likelihood of it changing the outcome of the election is probably zip?
Well, I think the motivations vary depending on which Republicans you're talking about. For some of them, I think they frankly actually do believe some of these conspiracy theories about voter fraud and election fraud, even though there is next to no evidence of any of it. For others, I think that they find it to be good politics, knowing that President Trump is still quite popular with their base. You've got some senators who are sort of surprising additions to that list, senators who already said that they felt that this election was fair, that they haven't seen any evidence of fraud. Suddenly now they're jumping into the fray, possibly because some of them are up for re-election in 2022. And of course, all House Republicans are up for re-election in 2022. And then I think there are some Senate Republicans who see this as good presidential politics. You know, there are people like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley who are mulling a presidential bid of their own in 2024. And this could be a way for them to stake a claim with that base to say, I'm with you all the way. I'm going to fight for what you believe in and try to sort of scoop up some of that goodwill early on from a base that they know they're going to need if they decide to run for president.
So we have heard senators, Senator Cruz particularly one, reference an electoral commission that was created in 1877 to investigate presidential election results. They're sort of citing this as precedent. What happened in 1877? How does it compare to what we're seeing now?
Yes, the presidential election of 1876, which was not at the top of anyone's mind until this weekend when they cited it as a rationale for this new election commission that they want to establish on an emergency basis. This was the presidential race between Rutherford B. Hayes, the Republican, and Samuel Tilden, the Democrat, and it was kind of a mess. It was unclear who had won after the election took place. There were several states that were in doubt. There was a lot of unrest about this. There was even talk of another civil war. And so this emergency commission was created in 1877 to clear it up. And of course, at the end of the day, Rutherford B. Hayes became the president. That is not analogous to the situation that we are in today. President-elect Biden won the election in a very clear and commanding fashion. He got more than 300 electoral votes. None of the results in any of the states are in doubt. All of those states, which are led by both Democrats and Republicans, I should point out, have certified their election results. So to say that we're in a similar situation now that we were in 1877 is simply not the case.
Okay. Senator Josh Hawley, the first senator, I think, to come out and say that, he was going to object to the election results. How is his effort separate from the efforts of other senators? It's all of a piece. So he came out early on. He was sort of the first Senate Republican to definitively say that he was going to do this. And then over the weekend, Senator Cruz announced that he had his own big faction that was going to do the same. But at the end of the day, what they're doing, they will do the same thing on Wednesday, on January 6th, which is that they will object to the certification of Electoral College results from a variety of battleground states like Arizona and Georgia and Michigan, with the argument being that if they could just, question or overturn the results in those states, that perhaps at the end of the day it would be President Trump who could be seated as president once again on January 20th and not President-elect Biden. The reality, as they very well know, is that that's not going to be successful because all Democrats and many of their fellow Republicans are going to vote against that move. So this will be messy, this will be chaotic, this will drag out for hours what is normally a fairly routine process. But at the end of the day, it is not going to change the bottom line, which is that President-elect Biden has the electoral votes that he needs to be sworn in here at the Capitol on January 20th. So before I let you go, when you said fairly routine, I thought, how many times have we said that in the past year? This is supposed to be fairly routine. But I've got one more thing to ask you about before I let you go. Nancy Pelosi, she was reelected as Speaker. It was a squeaker, though. What can you tell us about the vote?
It was a squeaker. She needed 214 votes to be reelected as Speaker. Obviously, she was not going to get any support from Republicans, so she needed to get all of it from Democrats. And now that we are into a new congressional term, she has fewer Democrats to call on. They have a razor-thin majority now in the House, and so she needed 214. She got 216. She even had to lean on some Democrats who have voted against her as Speaker in the past to turn around and vote for her this time around. Speaker Pelosi is legendary for knowing where her support is and what she needs to do to get it, and that was true once again this time around. Also notable because this could be her very last term in Congress, so she is going to continue her leadership of the House at a very fractious time, and she will be the Speaker for, it looks like, at least 2 more years.
All right, Nancy, thank you very much.